All right, they are getting the vaccine for COVID-19 in the UK as we speak, and as of late last night in Bahrain, as of today. Technically, while their medical officers have written off on this Pfizer-BioNTech treatment for COVID, our FDA has not exactly released a clearance yet. And until they do, states, obviously, even on emergency use, cannot issue that. Governor Mike DeWine telling me that in Ohio earlier this week, that until they clear it, it ain't going to happen. Asa Hutchinson, the Republican governor of Arkansas, telling me the same thing. But both gentlemen are very optimistic it will happen, and soon. Should we read anything into that? Is there any significance to that? Let's go to Dr. Anita Gupta, Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. Doctor, what do you think? Is there something that we should be worried about why the FDA hasn't signed off on this yet?
No. I think, first of all, we have to remember that the FDA, the European Medicines Agency, and the MHRA around the world are the agencies that are regulating this process. And we have to remember there is a due diligence that occurs with vaccinations, and we have to give that process time. This has been a historic mission across the world, and it's the biggest effort in history, and it's certainly it is an important prevention strategy that is occurring to really help millions of people around the world that have been infected, the 58 million people and the 1.3 million lives that have been lost. So, these are important decisions on safety, efficacy. There is a lot of data that needs to be reviewed nation to nation. So, there's a lot of work here that has to happen in a very short amount of time. So I'm not concerned. We have to let them do their work to review the data very carefully.
Well, if you're not concerned, doctor, I will be concerned. So I'm glad you're not concerned. But let me ask you a little bit about the process here, because I understand we have several companies that will have some type of treatment and/or vaccines. Pfizer and BioNTech is getting all the attention right now, but Moderna, very, very close, and down the road, AstraZeneca abroad. But I wonder, as a doctor, how you decide for your patients when you will be able to make that choice, what you give to them, and how you separate one that might be promising for one patient versus another patient. How do you make that call?
Of course, look, one of the biggest risk factor here for patients to get COVID is age, and we have to and exposure. So these are the populations that are going to get the vaccination first, and we're hearing that in the United States, we're hearing that in the UK, that the elderly and healthcare workers and frontline workers are going to be the first population. So, that is important, number one, to understand. And number two is that, as far as, getting the vaccination to individuals, we have to remember it's all about prevention combined with the vaccine, right? And so when we combine both, we're really going to have the most efficacy here. And tying that in with education and trust, and making sure people understand that, we need 60 to 70% people on board to really ultimately get the maximum benefit of these vaccines. So there's a lot of hurdle ahead. United States and UK are certainly at the race to get this vaccine in the next several weeks, if not early in 2021. But I believe we're going to see really swift action here.
Now, I understand that the more popular vaccines are going to be done in 2 doses, right? So when I hear about, 40 million doses, we're actually talking about 20 to 25 million who would be able to benefit from that. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. So in the UK right now, we know that there's 40 million doses that have been ordered from Pfizer. That's enough for 20 million people. Another 100 million from AstraZeneca, another 7 million from Moderna. And these all have been ordered. And, there's a population of about 67 million in the UK. So that's enough to get the entire population in the UK immunized. So this is an important number, and certainly will be very historic. And we'll be hearing about the rollout very, very soon in the next week, hopefully. And the United States, December 10th is going to be a very important day, and that will be when the FDA meets for an advisory panel to determine whether or not the Pfizer vaccine will get an emergency use authorization. So these dates will be very important, and we'll hear what happens.
All right, Dr. Gupta, great catching up with you and learning about where we stand in this whole process. Hope springs, as I say, eternal. Dr. Anita Gupta of Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine.